Welcome to Definition Fitness Flexible Dieting video. So today I'm going to go over flexible dieting, a nutritional concept that we use here at Definition to help our clients achieve better results and educate them around nutrition. So that's a big part of what we're doing, and when we work with clients and members, and what we want to do is not only help you achieve good results, but help you learn along the way and end up being better educated, more knowledgeable after working with us or being a member with us, and come out better the other side with information that's going to stay with you for life after that, okay? And help you make better decisions and understand nutrition, training, and also what controls things like body fat and muscle gain and things like that as we go through. So today we're talking nutrition, and we're talking in particular flexible dieting. Now, when we talk about this, I'm referring to basically how we can use flexible dieting and nutrition to control body fat and muscle gain in the body, whether it be weight gain, weight loss, and different things like that, okay? So first of all, what is flexible dieting? So flexible dieting is basically a nutritional principle or a mindset, okay? It's a way of looking at nutrition, and rather than being a very, very strict, rigid type of plan, a lot of different types of diets out there, like ketogenic diets, intermittent fasting diets, paleo diets, Atkins diets, all these different things. There's tons of different ones. I want you to think about flexible dieting as something different. It's not a fixed diet per se, okay? So that's number one. I want you to start to think about, it's more so a way of looking at nutrition by understanding the nutritional principles that are proven by science, basically, that control fat loss and fat gain, muscle gain and muscle loss, things like that in the body, performance training, strength gains, those sorts of things, okay? So we like to utilize flexible dieting for a number of reasons, okay? First of all, when we look at mindset, one of the biggest things is that nothing is off limits. So basically this means that when we talk nutrition, that nothing that you want to eat is off limits. It just means it needs to be moderated into smaller amounts so that it fits in with your goals at that time, whether it be trying to lose weight, trying to lose body fat, or whatever it is, okay? So number one. Now, the reason this is so important, that nothing is off limits, is that there's studies and some science to back this stuff up, is that when you restrict any type of food group, it can cause people, and usually does cause people, to actually want it more. And it makes you think about it more, and it makes you crave it, and then it makes you fall off the wagon or restrict for a period of time and then binge after that. And that's the biggest thing that we want to try to move people away from. Because one of the other things that we see a lot, and there's research to back this up, is that people actually don't have a problem with losing weight or losing fat, right? People are able to do that. The problem really lies in their ability to keep it off long term, okay? And there are studies that show that most people that lose fat, it's like about 90 or 95% of people that lose body fat go on to regain it plus more, okay? So not only do they get the body fat back, but yeah, they actually end up in a worse position down the track, whether it be even a year or two down the track, okay? And that's what we really are passionate about, is like working with people to not just get short-term results and not worry about what happens after, but set you up for like long-term success. And that's where this comes in, that's where it plays a very key role, okay? So looking forward to sharing it with you. All right, so what does it basically entail? It helps to improve long-term consistency, and I spoke about why that is so important. So it's one of the reasons why I'm going through this with you today, and I want you to understand it and educate you on it. It takes into consideration things like lifestyle factors, so your type of work, your family, your preferences, your eating habits, times of the day, how busy you are, all these different things, because a diet that fits one person doesn't necessarily fit another. And that's really important to understand. So it needs to mold around your own lifestyle, your own preferences and things like that. And again, this is what this allows us to do. Okay, so essentially, what is flexible dieting? So first of all, I want you to have a look at what I've just drawn up. I know it's a pretty off-center little pyramid that I've got here, but this is a nutritional pyramid, okay, designed by Eric Helms, so full credit to him for it. And basically it places in order of priority at the base of the principle what is the most fundamental priority that controls body fat, okay, and muscle gain. And so you'll see at the base of the pyramid we have number one, it's calories. That is the foundation, and that is the number one most important thing, okay? What is number two? As we come up, macronutrients, or macros as we call them just there, okay? So remember, your macros are carbohydrates, protein, and fats, okay? They are the three macros. So I'll write it up, but you've got protein, Okay. Now, protein, carbs, and fats are the three macros. Now, in each one of these, 1 gram contains okay, so I've just written up there for you as well. So 1 gram of protein contains 4 calories, 1 gram of carbohydrate is 4 calories, and 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. And they're just an energy unit designed to calculate how much energy each gram of those macros give you, okay? So moving up into our third most important nutritional principle is micronutrients. So that's all your vitamins, your minerals, phytonutrients, fiber falls into that category as well. And then as we come up, we're starting to get a little bit less important. That controls body fat, and that comes to things like meal timing and meal frequency. Okay, and then up the top, the least important factor is supplementation. And that's the thing, is like one of the reasons why I'm really passionate about this is a lot of people, if you ask them, okay, what's the best way to lose fat? They will start talking about supplementation, for example. I'll take this supplement, and all of a sudden you've jumped over all the main principles that control fat loss and worried about something tiny that's not really going to affect it unless you have all these things in order first. Okay, so rather than waste your money on those sorts of things and spin your wheels, for example, and get frustrated, let's talk about what matters and let's control that and then track that. Okay, down the bottom, what have we got here? Adherence. All right, and that is the most important principle, and that's just sticking to the plan. Okay, so no diet is better than another. Realistically, it's more so what you can stick to, what you enjoy, and what is maintainable long-term for you as an individual, okay? So that's why flexible dieting helps to improve adherence. That is one of the main goals of it, okay? All right, so essentially what's going on here? So first of all, we look at controlling calorie intake or setting the calorie intake that we want a person to be on based on their goals. So number one, we set goals. Number two, we then set the calorie intake based on the goal. So let's say, for example, somebody wants to lose body fat. The first thing we do is we calculate the person's maintenance calories. So how many calories per day does that person need to just basically keep their body weight the same? So for example, we'll say a 80 kilo male may need 3,000 calories to maintain their weight. Okay. So their maintenance is 3,000 calories. So what do we need? If we want to lose fat, we need to create a calorie deficit. So we need to go below that, okay? So there's two ways you can do it. You can reduce calories, or you can increase the energy expenditure by doing more cardio, doing more steps, doing more training, and those types of things. But reducing calories at the start is a really good way to start losing body fat, okay? Normally when we reduce it, a 10 or 20% reduction is where we want to start. So we go below that. Let's say we go 20%, and that would be, say, 2,400. And then we start there because you created that deficit. Okay? So what are we doing here? So notice that I'm talking in calories. Why? Because that's the most important thing here, the base of the principle, okay? Secondly, we then work out, okay, how do we split up those calories into the 3 different macros? Okay, so from there, we make sure that we set calories because that's the most important, and then we break it down. Okay, how much protein should this be? How much carbohydrates and how much fats? And we do that on an individual basis based on body weight and training levels and a few different factors, and then work it out from there, okay? Now, micronutrients. How do we look after somebody, making sure you're getting enough micronutrients? All right, and that's where this comes into it, the 80-20 rule, okay? So remember when I started the video, I said that nothing is off limits, and that's 100% true, which means things like chocolate or pizza or, you know, some poor quality or lower nutrient dense foods are okay to have in moderation. So this 80-20 basically refers to when we set up the calories and then we set up the macros, you want to try and get at least 80% of those calories and all those macronutrients from micronutrient rich, good quality, unprocessed foods, okay? So think things like lots of vegetables, lots of fruit, things like nuts, berries are definitely in there, good quality protein sources, healthy fats, etc. all come under that 80 rule, okay? So if we do that, if we consume 80% of our calories from good quality micronutrient rich foods that are high in fiber and things like that, we are going to look after the body's micronutrient needs. So we've done, calories have been looked after, macros have been looked after, micros have been looked after by following that 80-20 rule, okay? Then we come up with the things like meal timing being less important. So for example, people think you need to eat say 6 times a day to lose body fat. You don't. There's studies that show that if we equate for the calorie intake, all right, and then protein's where it needs to be and things like that at the end of the day, if you eat 3 times a day or you eat 6 times a day, it doesn't matter because we've covered the most important things there. So that's where it's important to not stress. If you can't eat 6 times a day, you don't need to. Don't force feed yourself. If you're busy, you're with family, kids, work, whatever it might be, that shouldn't be something you stress about at all, okay? So usually we do recommend like 3 to 6 feedings per day, and they can be little snacks, protein shakes, things like that, but anywhere along there is good, okay? Spread it out as you prefer, as long as you're covering your bases down here. So that's then looked after. Supplementation, that's on a pretty personal basis. You know, some good basic health supplements like maybe a multivitamin, fish oil, some magnesium, things like that can be really, really beneficial to some people. But realistically, there's not a huge need for supplementation for majority of people unless you're lacking or deficient in some form, okay? So again, not that important. So that's a rundown of why, okay? And then it's like, okay, what about the how? How do we monitor this? And basically we do that through tracking our food intake. So once we set the calories for you, we then look at getting you to track your food intake through an app, say MyFitnessPal we use with a lot of our clients, and you enter your food in there, you enter the portion size, and then it calculates and will tell you how much protein, carbs, and fats you've consumed or in that meal or that food, for example. And then I like you to think about your macros as a budget for the day. Okay, so let's say we go back to this example, 2,400. Pardon my maths, but I'm pretty sure that this is going to add up to 2,450. So let's say that these are the macros that we've set up: 200 grams of protein, 300 grams of carbs, and 50 grams of fats. So then what we do is we get you guys to track your food intake, okay? And the goal is to meet these targets, all right? So you want to try to meet them fairly closely, usually within 5 or 10 grams either side, up or below. Depends on how strict you're being and whether you're working on getting super lean or competing, and different things like that can be tailored to the individual. And again, that comes back to the flexibility part. So if it's just more general health and general goals, you don't have to be super strict with hitting these precisely, and you most definitely don't want to stress out about it. This shouldn't be stressful, okay? So I want you guys to realize and try and think about straight away. Don't stress about it. Try and take this approach, especially if you're new to it, and just ease your way into it. Try to get the fundamentals close. Like for example, start with trying to get your calories close first, then try and get your macros closer over time, and then start to dial in a little bit more once you start to get your head around it, okay? Don't overwhelm yourself. Just try and enjoy it and use it as a tool to improve lifestyle, okay? Now, how can you use it as a tool to improve your lifestyle? Well, one way is that you can still go out for dinner with family and friends, and you can track your food intake. You can fit it into your daily budget, okay? So remember, we refer to that as like a budget of your macros for the day. And if it fits in there, it means that you haven't ruined your diet, okay? And that's where a lot of people go wrong. They say, oh, I went out for dinner with friends, I had a glass of wine, for example, I've ruined my diet, that's it, stuff it, I'll start again on Monday. And how many times have you heard people say that? So that's what we're trying to avoid. So you can fit that stuff in, still track it, fit it into the targets, for example, and then carry on, and you're still on track. You haven't ruined your diet, and you still even lose body fat, okay? And that's the beauty of it. Still have a little bit of chocolate or ice cream and whatnot in the plant and still get awesome results. And how cool is that? And that's what we want to help you guys to do, okay? So tracking food on the app, we enter it all in there, and at the end of the day, the goal is to meet those targets, okay? So when you do enter your food into MyFitnessPal, what we really encourage people to do is, first of all, have a look at the calories first, and then also have a look at the macros that are in that food. And it's a really good educational tool that we find people can help people long term, is that like you put food in, and when you have a look at it, you might realize, let's say for example, you enter in a piece of salmon, and the salmon comes up, okay, certain calorie intake. Now it's got protein in it, brilliant. And then someone might say, wow, I didn't realize how much fat was in salmon, for example. Now it's good fat, and the fats in salmon, for example, are healthy, and there's nothing wrong with them. But if you consume too many overall fats or too many overall calories, what happens? You will not lose fat, or you may even gain body fat from it. So remember that you can't just eat, just because it's good quality food, you can't just eat an abundant amount of it and expect to lose body fat magically. And that can be a problem that people run into sometimes when they're not tracking macros and they're just trying to eat clean, for example. Things like, say, the paleo diet. you're having a lot of, so no sugars, no unrefined foods and things like that, but say having a lot of avocado, a lot of fats and things like that, and then a lot of nuts that I've seen people do. And sometimes one bag of nuts can have like 2,000 calories in it without even realizing. So you've got to be careful with those sorts of things. So we do like you to have a look at it and then educate yourself in terms of, all right, what macros are in what foods fit into my macros, or what foods should I be eating to align with my personal goals at that point in time. And then over time, you get quite good at it and quite well educated and stuff. And down the track, you don't need to track your food intake anymore. You know what foods will roughly fit in as well. So it can be a really valuable tool and a really valuable process to go through. And it's not to say you need to track your food forever, but it's just like, okay, once you have a really good understanding, you can have periods of time where you don't need to track, but you have a really good understanding about nutrition and about what fits into your preferences as well as your lifestyle and your goals at that point in time, okay? So there's some pretty important principles that I wanted to share with you guys today. I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you've taken something valuable away from it and learned a little bit about, you know, what are the most important things to get leaner and to build some muscle and some different things along those lines, and the reason why, and how you can then utilize flexible dieting and tracking your food intake and things like that to improve your results. You know, have fun along the way and you know, really enjoy the whole process, okay? So thanks for watching. We look forward to helping you guys here at Definition. If you've got any other questions, feel free to ask myself or any other awesome coaches here can help you. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the gym. Thanks for watching. Cheers.